We are continuing to watch what has become a very intense scene unfold at UT Dallas. So just about an hour ago here, just to reset for you, a large group of law enforcement officers arrived on campus here at UT Dallas to break up a student rally, a pro-Palestine rally, and to break up an encampment that had been set up there on the campus. There were signs that were torn down. There were tents and other things that were sort of also ripped down. And right now they're removing all of that. And they have pushed those protesters to the edges now of that square.
It's been an intense hour. We saw law enforcement hit the campus pretty quickly at 4 o'clock, which is when we came on the air with this breaking news for you. You're looking live right now at kind of the remnants of that encampment being broken up. Jason Allen has been live since this happened. Jason, I know that we can see what's going on, obviously still very active where you are, but take the temperature compared to when law enforcement first got on campus an hour ago. What is the temperature there now here at 5 o'clock?
Yeah, thankfully, it is not as intense as what we saw about an hour ago, Nicole, right? Because that was just as law enforcement was walking up in a big column to where this group had been camped out for the majority of the day. It happened with very little warning. And when it happened, some of the protesters, the demonstrators who were here, were not arrested willingly. They pushed back, they fought back. There were some physical confrontations with some of the law enforcement that was here, but they arrested those people very quickly. Law enforcement then moved in, made more arrests. What we're seeing now is the demonstrators who are still here, the protesters, are remaining calm. They are staying on the new perimeter that law enforcement has now set up. So after the folks with the encampment had set up their own boundaries, law enforcement's now taken over those boundaries, and all the protesters and demonstrators are staying on the outside of it and staying calm. They're continuing to chant some of the chants that we heard earlier in the day. People are continuing to bring in more resources for them. And can you go right over here, Robert? I'm just going to show, you know, there's things that are being brought in for the protesters to keep them here, and what you see now is a line of about a dozen DPS state troopers that are now joining this as well. So they are also getting reinforcements, probably to either hold the line or to make sure that they're able to give relief to anybody who needs relief. Now, Robert, I'm going to go ahead and walk just a little bit up here. There have been, you're going to see there are both pro-Palestine demonstrators here, as well as pro-Israel demonstrators who have set up. I'm just trying to see if there's anything that law enforcement is doing on the other side inside the camp. So what we can see over there, come here, Robert. Robert, I want to show you inside the camp. Oh, we're in his shot. Sorry, we're in the shot of another photographer. What we're going to try to show you, I'm going to see if we can walk over there. In the interior of the camp right now, or what was the camp, there are a number of state troopers who are all gathered together in a circle. We're not going to go past this line where you can see, can't tell what police department this is, that's right here. This is for the university system. But you can see the state troopers, the state police, they're all gathered around, right? And there's clearly a briefing that is going on. Some of these, I think, are the folks who have just come here onto the scene. So likely they're being told what's been happening and what the intent is, or their assignment is here as they're here throughout the evening. On the outside of that circle, that group, Ken and Nicole, you can see the rest of the police and the state troopers are still holding that line with protesters there on the other side.
Holding that line, and you did mention, you know, the show force that kind of invaded campus at 4 o'clock. Mixed bag of law enforcement on scene there. We saw officers from the sheriff's department in riot gear. We saw DPS troopers. Can you, by any estimate, tell us how many protesters you think are out there versus how many law enforcement officers are out there?
You know, without having made a head count, this is just going to be an off the top of my head kind of guess. But I'm going to say you're looking at 50 law enforcement maybe, and I would guess that you probably have, you know, 300 plus people who are actively still demonstrating, chanting. Now, there are more people beyond that, but a lot of them are really just observing. They're not taking part in it. Again, this is late afternoon hours. Classes have gotten done. They're about to head home for the day, so a lot of people just sort of standing around and observing to see what else happens here in the early evening hours.
Jason, I want to lean on your experience of covering these types of protests in the past couple of days here a little bit, if I may, because you mentioned something earlier in one of your earlier reports that I think is worth talking a little bit about now, because it's been more than an hour now. Clearly, we get the sense that nobody wants this to continue for the rest of the evening, although it may, right? But I'm wondering, based on what you've reported, what you've seen at different campuses throughout the state, at what point do you think law enforcement starts giving those demands, those orders that we still haven't heard to disperse or to move somewhere else? Does that typically happen, you think, early on in these types of events, or do you think they're going to let them go for a while before we start hearing that?
And this is just based on what I'm seeing here in this situation, Ken, I think they're going to want to try to get all of this cleaned up, cleared out, basically cede this space that the demonstrators have said was theirs, give it back to the public and make sure that anybody is allowed or welcome to be back in here. At that point, I think that if the demonstrators who are here say that they're going to sit right back down in that same spot again and not leave, I think that may be when you start to see some of those orders to disperse come out. That's what we've seen in situations at other campuses, right? It's been when some of the groups, the student groups, community groups have been moved and then would not move back any further, but law enforcement still needed to get them to spread out and away from a central area. That's when some of those kind of large-scale announcements and orders went out. So clearly the focus from what we're seeing right now is to get all of this cleaned up. And then I think we'll see what the actions of demonstrators will probably help law enforcement decide what action they're going to take next.
How far are you, Jason, from that cardboard sort of little wall that they built between the troopers and the protesters? Are you near it? I'm just trying to get an orientation of it.
Yeah. We can show you. It's not that far. It's
okay.
You know, it's 40 or 50 feet. Robert's right there on the other side, and there was one. I'll just say there was one right here as well. I mean, there were they didn't want to call them barricades. When I talked to the demonstrators this morning, they talked about them as boundaries, right? Boundaries so that they had what they felt like was a safe space. They said it's for the safety of people here. When I asked them safety from what, they said, well, maybe that's not the right way to put it. It's more of just kind of marking out our boundaries for a spot where we're going to gather and be able to say what we want. So yeah, so the boards that were set up on that other side, those are still in place, and probably, you know, by design, I imagine that that's assisting law enforcement right now with creating a separation between them and the protesters. Often we'll see law enforcement in these, you know, try to bring in bikes or kind of create their own barriers. In this case, they've got a barrier that's separating them from the main group. They have enough law enforcement over here on the other side where the barriers have been torn down that they're able to hold the line. And the people right now are cooperating and moving back when asked to clear a space for the vehicles to come in to go ahead and load up. So you see another pickup truck has now backed in. They're loading more of the tents in, but there are still pallets and pallets of water and food and tires and sand. There's a ton of sand out here, play sand, bags of sand.
And Jason,
I'm not sure what the intent was there, but there's a lot to move still.
Jason, I'm wondering, because some people may not have seen it earlier, you grabbed a student, you were able to talk to him and get his perspective. You know, like you mentioned, classes are done for the day, but we are in final season for these kids. So can you reiterate his message? Because he did speak about, you know, not having an issue with the protests, just the matter of the encampment and the disturbance on campus.
Yeah, that's what we've heard from a few students today is that they were fine with people being able to have their say, right, and to make their point. But when it starts to intrude on campus life, on being able to move back and forth, get around, that's where the line was, especially in a time of year when they're having their last classes this week and they have their finals next week, and that's it. You know, when we asked demonstrators about that today, they felt like they were still giving enough space for people to move around. This main mall area right here, right, this is where you can walk through north to south. You could not walk through here. But you could walk around it. You just went around some water that is some ponds that are built on either side. You did have to go around it, and when it expanded, it did block another sidewalk. But they felt they were still giving people space to move around. They didn't think that they were necessarily, impeding on other students, maybe in the same way that we've seen in some universities on the east and west coasts.
Yeah, we definitely saw a very intense scene last night at Columbia, and I was just thinking from the school's perspective, maybe it poses a safety issue on campus, and that mall, like you said, being so central to connecting north and south.
We were talking about this earlier as well. When you see this kind of an action being taken right now at UTD, right? What kind of messages is sending to other campuses,
Correct.
to other universities who are planning or are currently dealing with encampments and similar type protests?
Mm-hmm.
We know that Governor Greg Abbott had sent out a stern message on social media warning that students could be thrown out of school. They could be expelled or not be able to graduate, which is an important thing for so many seniors. And again, what we saw here at UT Dallas is certainly the law enforcement officers here moving in quickly. Jason talked about the folks in the encampment being read a notice about 3:45 or so 10-15 minutes before 4 o'clock is when that notice was read, and then they moved in 10-15 minutes later, and
we saw
this is where we are now, right?